Hello, everybody. This is Mahdi, CEO of the Soul Focus Group, super coach. And I'm so excited about being able to speak to you again. You know, it's always a blessing to be able to communicate something worthwhile to people and to be in my right state of mind, to have strong faith, trust, and belief in myself and in you, the listener, the person on the other side of this call, on the other side of this recording. What I want to talk to you today is about something extremely common. And I want to talk to you about it from a place of real authenticity, right? Now, here's the thing. There's not a person that I know who has not experienced this, and that is fear. Fear. The world is so full of fear. And matter of fact, fear has become the primary energy that is driving people into action. You see it on the roadways, you see it in the business place, in offices, you see it even at home and between husbands and wives or partners. You see it everywhere out in the world. You see it now with this war that's happening in Ukraine. Fear. I mean, there are people who are really invested in it. They believe so much in fear that they would not dare try to utilize the fuel of love. So love is the alternative fuel. So there's fear, then there's love. Now, people say all the time that they would rather love than fear, but you see so little love on the global scale, so little love when you turn on the television, when you turn the news on. The news lines are pumping us full of fear. Now, get this, most of the fears that we're being pumped up with are not real fears. What do I mean by that? It doesn't mean that there aren't things to be afraid of in this world. That doesn't mean that there aren't things that actually literally threaten your physical existence in this world. And it's becoming more so, like here in America, it's becoming more so where you find yourself in danger when you're driving down the highway. So the percentage of times in which you actually experience real fear, where something actually threatens your physical existence, is raising, is becoming greater and greater every day. At one point, it was a small percentage, 2 to 5% of the time of your time here on Earth, especially here in America, you would experience real fear. Now, some other places in the world, they experience real fear on a regular basis because there are bombs being dropped. There's famine. There's all sorts of things that have been created by human beings towards others that threatens the lives of so many beautiful, wonderful beings. What's causing the threat of physical life being taken is actually the virtual fears that we walk around with inside our head that causes us to take action on people that haven't even done us any harm, that have not threatened us at all. There's some people have virtual fears that make them afraid of other people because of their race. They've never really interacted with a person of a different race. They just these programs have been downloaded into their subconscious mind, and they treat these virtual fears as real, like they're a real threat, and then they act on them and then end up threatening the life of someone else. We see it happen all the time. I can't tell you how many times I've received death threats from being a facilitator, anti-racist facilitator all these years. I've frequently received death threats and whatnot. So here's a person that has a virtual fear because they are afraid that what I'm saying is going to threaten them, and that's what they perceive it to be. I've never threatened anybody's existence, and nothing I've ever said in the end result would prove to be detrimental to a person's growth and development as a full human being. The truth has a way of growing and developing us, but when we have virtual fears, a virtual fear is a story, it's a belief, it's a narrative that we hold that causes us to bring out the worst in ourselves. So we see the worst outcome, we expect to lose, we expect to be rejected, and then all of the things that come along with that vision in our head, our body then begins to keep the score. It begins to take on the traumatic vision in our mind and it lives in our body. And so when we walk around in that virtual fear all the time, it eventually will turn into disease, a dis-ease, meaning there's a disconnection that you are experiencing, because when you are connected to soul, soul operates in love, and it allows you to be fully present to yourself and to others. So, but virtual fear is also the thing that makes us say, we always getting in our own way. How we get in our own ways through that virtual fear. Now, I did a course, and the course is called Standing Up to the Fire of Your Fear. And I recommend that you run out and get it as soon as it comes out. We haven't released it yet. But as soon as it's released, you should be getting this course, because, first of all, it's going to expose the fact that there are two different fears: real fear, virtual fear. And the fear that is causing the most problems in our lives is virtual fear. And you can do something about dissipating virtual fear. You can do something about it. And as we dissipate our virtual fears, you will see less real fear out in the world. You see less events of people threatening the lives of other people, when we know how to deal with the virtual fears, which aren't based in reality. They're imagined. And virtual fear is essentially our imagination working in reverse. In other words, it is imaging the opposite of what we really want to experience. We are seeing ourselves as not good enough, and we're coming up with all the reasons why we're going to be rejected, and therefore we don't go to the meeting. So we talk ourselves out of going to the interview. We talk ourselves out of introducing ourselves to the person that we are attracted to. We talk ourselves out of having the conversation with our children that we need to have that conversation with, the birds and the bees, et cetera, et cetera. We walk away from difficult things in life, and then therefore don't grow, because we are afraid of something in our mind that is not based in reality. And the only way for you to realize that it's not based in reality is to begin to interact with it, to begin to share it out in the public with your friends and whatnot, and the people in your life that care about you. And what you're going to discover is that what you are afraid of is not based in the real. Now, I want you to think of fear too as a great big inflated balloon. Virtual fear as a great big inflated balloon that's taking up space in your life, stopping you from breathing, interfering with your vision, interfering with your confidence. It takes your confidence down. It interrupts your clarity. And it calls for courage, but it's not the same kind of courage as real fear calls for. So the courage that's called for from virtual fear is different, because virtual fear is this big old balloon that keeps expanding in your life. And the only way for you to confront it is to reduce the size of it. So I'm going to ask you a question. How do you think you reduce the size of your virtual fear? Remember, since it is not real, it is in our mind. That's where it exists. Then there's only a few ways that you can reduce the size of the balloon. Now, I want to say this, and I'm not going to give you the answer. I think I would like for you to invest in the course, because it's not investing in me, it's investing in yourself, where you will find the answers for sure. But I would also like for you to think of fear in this way. And so you got the inflated balloon. And so the more virtual fear you have, the bigger the fear gets, the more space it takes up in your life, the more paralyzed you feel, the more you procrastinate, the more you look for excuses, the more you come up with excuses. The other thing is that fear, virtual fear, is like a temporary power outage in yourself. That means cognitively, you become disconnected from your authenticity. Your authenticity is the power source in your life. And so when you disconnect from your authenticity, you disconnect from the power. So you experience a power outage. There are only a few things that you're going to do if you experience a power outage. It's because of a couple of things. Number one, you could have experienced a storm in your life that caused the power to go out. Number two, you didn't pay your bill. Or number three, there's some kind of electrical repair that has to happen. All three can be true, and we'll talk about that. I talk about that in the course. And it'd be important for you to invest in this course, because it will help you to stand up to the fire of your fear. I'm M. This has been our 10 minutes together, and I hope what I've shared with you can begin to give you some sense of what direction to start when it's time to stand up to the fire of fear. And guess when it's time? Now.